Should be live.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Hump Day Hangouts. This is episode number 577. We're supposedly coming to you in full HD today. And today being the 17th of December, 2025. And we are going to get into answering your local SEO questions, all sorts of other good stuff. But first, we're going to take a minute. We got a couple quick announcements. I'm going to say hello to Bradley, see how he's doing, maybe check the weather, a couple other odds and ends, and then we'll jump into it. If you are watching live, give us a shout, say hello. Love knowing who's here. Also, just so you know, if you're ever asking questions ahead of time, which you can do, you can always go to semanticmastery.com/HDHO and ask your question ahead of time. Because if you go there and it's not between 4 and 5 Eastern on Wednesdays, what you'll come to is a page, a bunch of resources, some free downloads you can check out, but you can also then ask a question, and that goes into a spreadsheet that Bradley gets to check out and we'll get to on Hump Day Hangouts. But if you're live, we can ask some follow-up questions. Sometimes there's some nuance to it, or, if it's a complex question, it really helps if you're live. But again, we understand not everybody can be here live. So the follow-up to that is head over to YouTube and subscribe to the Semantic Mastery YouTube channel. That way you'll get notified and you can check out the answers to your questions and all sorts of other really good content. The one announcement I wanted to let people know, we're going to have something special going on. There's definitely going to be a holiday deal in store for people who are subscribed to the Semantic Mastery email list. If you're not on the list, just head over to semanticmastery.com, hop on, and you'll be getting something special in your email inbox between Christmas and New Year's. There might be something a little earlier than that. I'm still working out the details, but stay tuned on that. So I'm going to switch over. And Bradley, how you doing today?
What's up, man? I'm good. I'm busy as hell as always, but things are good. Things are pretty exciting. We got a lot of stuff occurring right now with AI SEO that I think is really relevant for us. I'm actually working on a new service offering for semanticlinks, which is specifically optimizing for voice search. No kidding.
Nice.
There's ways to do that. And about 50% of searches are now coming through voice search. No kidding. And so there's a real opportunity to optimize for that. And so I'm actually working on developing a service for that. And then there's another one that I'm working on too. It's a little bit more challenging, but citations have made this huge resurgence of importance for optimizing for AI search. And so I'm trying to develop some workflows that will automate to at least semi-automate develop or creating niche specific directory listings as well as hyperlocal listings. And so everything is done on a case-by-case basis by what the company is or the industry that they're in, the area, the location that they're in, all of that. So I'm trying to work on a kind of a service that, it's a workflow that will allow us to provide done for you citation building, but on a much more, instead of using the big directory sites like everybody does, very specifically identifying industry specific or niche specific directories and hyperlocal directories for each client, right? And we're talking about like very hyperlocal, like neighborhood type level directories, meaning like, in their particular city or town, any sort of blogs, event sites, municipal sites, so local government sites, any sort of opportunities in the local area to do sponsorships of like little leagues, charities, churches, schools, things like that, where then they can get a link back, because those links are freaking incredibly valuable for ranking local, and also just for AI search performance right now. What I'm finding is the more specific you can get listed on industry type directories or hyper local directories, the more likely it is to be returned in AI search results. And so between voice search and that, those are two ways that I'm working on developing those as done for you services, so that we can provide that for our white label agency clients. But it's a bit challenging, but at the same time, it's also I think it's the juice is worth the squeeze, so to speak, because the value that we can get from those sort of services is going to be huge. It already is. I just don't have anything worked out to where it's not scalable. Right now, it's a very manual process, and I can't do that as a white label provider, that's for sure. So, but anyways, pretty excited to be here. I'm looking forward to taking some time off next week for Christmas. But yeah, that's all I had this morning or today. Excuse me.
All right. Well, let's get into it. No need to ramble on. I guess we got what we needed to say said. So let's get into questions.
Right on. We should have the redirect set up.
Mhm.
And just to be clear, here comes Chris. I did last week. Somebody mentioned that the resolution was low, and I went back and checked StreamYard settings, and it was set to 720. So I apologize for that being last week. Can't go back and redo it. So it is what it is. But I set it to 1080p this time. So I'm hoping that the resolution is coming through a little bit stronger or better, clearer this time. So I can't go any higher than 1080p, guys. And I'm also restricted a bit through a Starlink connection. So if it drops below that, it is what it is. There's no way I can fix it, but hopefully that'll resolve the issue.
I'll check out the stream. I'm just looking at it right now. Just with it paused, it looks better to me already. So okay, I think that is helping.
You want Bradley at 4K?
Yeah, we don't want that. So I actually looked to see if I could change the video settings, like the camera settings, to 720p, but the screen at 1080, but it won't let me do that. It's all one and the same. So anyway, I'm gonna grab the screen, and it's a bit funky with. I got this big ass monitor. I haven't learned how to partition the monitor yet, to where if I grab the whole screen, like the whole monitor.
Oh, you just got to share like one, probably have a separate browser.
That's right. What I mean. Like there's got to be a way that I can set. I just haven't figured it out. I haven't taken the time to look into it yet, to be honest with you, but I know that I should be able to partition the screen so that if I select the whole screen instead of just a particular window, it'll still be readable. Right now, if I select the whole screen, it'll be these long black bars on the bottom and the top because I've got this super wide monitor and it just won't work. But it's a real pain in the ass. I've learned very quickly when using Google Meet, switching between browsers and windows and shit. It's stupid painful because everybody has to wait while I switch browsers, and that's not going to be sustainable. So I've got
I'll send you something. I'll send you something, Bradley. I used to use a tool that could forget what it's called, and if anyone's listening and has a better idea, but it made like virtual partitions on your big monitor, so you could snap things to them, and then your drivers recognize it as like your drivers, whatever your software. Yeah, it's like, so it's not just forcing the browser, your system actually recognizes it as a monitor.
Yeah, if you can find that and shoot it to me, man, that would be helpful.
All right.
So let's go ahead and see if I can change the format this time as well and grab the screen. Still getting used to this, so just bear with me, guys. Okay, it should be good. Everybody should be seeing.
Looks like, we got your whole browser.
Okay. Yeah, you should have the Google Sheet right now, correct?
Yep.
All right, good. All right, so we're going to start with Ben. He says, how do you improve a share of voice ranking? That's different than voice search, which I just mentioned a moment ago. I read this question earlier, and I was like, this is perfect because I'm working on developing an AI voice search or a voice search optimization service, but that's not the same as share of voice. I think what he's talking about is in some of the, I don't know if it's Local Viking or Local Falcon, or it's one of those that there's a share of voice metric, which that's not one of the metrics that is used in Bright Local. And I've been using Bright Local for like 12 years now. No kidding. I don't use any of the other ones. So share of voice is not a metric that I know anything about or how to influence it. Sorry, it's just not something I use. It's not in any of my reporting apps, so I can't help you there. But I'm sure, again, guys, I appreciate all questions that people pose, but I would also just recommend, go into whatever your favorite AI model is and asking specifically, and give it context. Like, I want to know how to improve share of voice ranking. Here's where share of voice, the metric is, whether it's Local Falcon, Local Viking, whatever it is, that's a metric that they use. If you can find any documentation about that, like on their whatever platform it is that you're using for reporting, that describes what share of voice is, just grab that URL and put that into the same chat and say, for context, here's what share of voice is. And then just ask, like, and just go through and ask, a series of questions, and by the way, prompt to ask the AI to ask you questions before answering. So ask me any follow-up questions to provide the necessary context for you to provide a proper answer, right? And then it will ask you some follow-up questions to get everything right before it answers it. And so that's what I would do, because I have no idea about anything about share of voice, because it's not a metric I track. It's not in any of the reporting tools that I use. But man, I'm telling you guys, like, the days of needing to ask somebody questions is like, they're if you're using, I'm not saying, by the way, Ben, I'm not saying that you don't know how to use AI. That's not what I'm saying. So I hope nobody thinks that. What I'm saying is the way that, Gemini 3 is freaking amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And so if you just go there, and what I've learned over the last, several weeks where I've been just, nonstop working in AI stuff, is, spend more time on the prompt and ask the AI to ask you questions about what you're trying to accomplish before it starts processing at all. Like, specifically give it what it is that you're trying to do, the context, any kind of constraints, any sort of examples of what type of output or something that was done properly that you are looking, any sort of examples that you can provide, all of that kind of stuff. And if you're still unsure, just ask the AI to ask you questions before processing or executing the task, the request. Before executing the request, ask me any follow-up questions that are required for to provide the full context so that you can give me a proper answer. Just something like that. That's all you need to do. And and it will start to ask you follow-up questions before responding. There's also, I found, let me, shit, again, this stupid thing. I'm going to show something. This is a great app. I'm going to put this in. I know I got to grab the screen again, but I'll show you guys a number of things that I use a lot right now that I think would be helpful for our audience as well. So let me grab the screen again. I've just got to switch context windows again. So this is going to be snippets.ai. I think the actual URL, I think, is getsnippets.ai. This is a fabulous application. I love this. It's a desktop app. It's also in the cloud. So you can use it either way. I have the desktop app opened up right now. You guys are seeing my snippets, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Just wanted to check. So this is it's just basically a kind of a prompt library that it's your own prompt library, but it also has, if you're using the desktop app, it has some really cool functions. Like you can create shortcuts to where when you're in any AI chat model, if you just click the / button and whatever the shortcut is, let me give you an example. So like because this is one of my favorites, and that's why I started to bring this up. It's called the prompt interrogator. And so you can see that I have an /interrogate right there. And so what that means is I'm gonna have to switch context windows in a minute, but I'll show you. If I go to Gemini, for example, and I start and put my cursor in the chat box, and then I hit, / and type interrogate, then it will automatically populate the chat window with this entire prompt. And so it just makes it super easy to build your own prompt library. It's great for prompt chaining too. Like, so for example, right here, you can see I have whenever I do emails, I do a series of, I do three prompts chained together, sequenced together the email comes out so much better this way. So we do an email for draft the email based upon the requirements or the data, the context that I provide here. Then step 2 is to then have it a brutal critique of the draft that was produced in step 1. And then step 3 is kind of the final analysis where it synthesizes both the output 1 and output 2. Where output 2 has the brutal critique, of output 1, and so output 3 kind of synthesizes or combines the two of them, and it comes out so much better. And so, like I said, it's just really helpful having kind of a prompt library like this. And so one of my favorites is this prompt interrogator, because I've learned that just if you spend more time on the front end on the prompt, you get so much better results, To me, I'd rather spend 20 minutes drafting a prompt and answering questions about what it is that I'm trying to accomplish first, then get the prompt after answering all those questions, and then you running that prompt, and the output comes out so much better that it's a lot of the times it's perfect. Of course, sometimes we still have to iterate on the original prompt. But many times in recent weeks, since I've really started doing this, the output comes out completely acceptable, right? It's suitable for my needs, versus previous to me doing this sort of prompt interrogation process. I would oftentimes have to iterate off the original prompt. The output wouldn't be quite right. So go back and add some more context, more detail, hit it again. Nope, still not quite right. Okay, modify this a little bit. And you end up spending more time on revisions than you do if you just spent the time up front on the prompt. And so I'll demonstrate that now. Let me jump back over here, grab the screen again to the appropriate window. And I'll just demonstrate that very quickly. Chrome tab or window. Let's go with window. So I'm in Gemini, and I think I'm going to demonstrate another something here in just a minute within Gemini anyways. So what I'm going to do is do that interrogate and hit enter. Oops, it looks like it didn't work. I wonder why. So I'll stop. But that's okay. I'm just going to copy it for now because I probably just misspelled it. But what I want to show you is just this is this it can be a system prompt, or it can just go directly into I just copied it from that application. It can be a system prompt. I probably misspelled it. But you can also go, like, if you're going to do like a gem, for example, which is I wouldn't do it as a gem because you're going to add context about what prompt it is that you're trying to create. So I would just add it here directly in here, and I'm going to go ahead and expand this window. And this is what it's saying, right? You are an expert prompt engineer, you know, whatever. And then here's the context. And then these are the questions that you have to answer. So you just run this through there. And then it, you know, as a matter of fact, let me pull that back up. I want to show, I don't want to mislead anybody. And there's a second part to this. So let me show you. But I'm just pointing out, like, I can't share this with you as it was a prompt that I got from a paid provider. I don't think you guys were seeing my screen anyways, were you? Perhaps you were. But what I was going to say was you could just format, you know, something similar. So I'll pause for a moment on the prompt in just a moment, guys. Let me grab that window again so I can show it a little bit better. I think I shut it down. No, I didn't. Where is it? How come I'm not seeing it? Stand by. Oh, because it was minimized. Try it again. Sorry about this, guys. Like I said, I'm going to try to figure out how to make it a little bit more seamless between window switching hopefully by next week. All right, so here we go. Back in here again. I put up here in the description. Let me just see if I can expand that. I don't know if I can expand that, but it sets the AI to act as a prompt generator by interrogating you for the details and in crafting an optimized prompt test. So this is what I was saying. If you want to take a screenshot of it, guys, do it. I don't want to just give it away, but if you take a screenshot of it, then hey, you've got it. But this is basically saying that you're a prompt engineer. Start every asking, what is the task you are completing? So basically you just copy this prompt and paste it in there, and then you just say go, or you paste it in and just hit enter. If it is a system prompt, which by the way, that's right, this can be used as a gem because this actually just it instructs the AI to ask what is the context of this prompt that you need. So I forgot, that's right, because this is already can be used as a gem. So I'm actually going to copy that again and just demonstrate that for you guys. I'm going to copy the whole system prompt, and I'm going to stop sharing for a minute again and go back over here. We're going to go back over to Gemini. Like I said, I got a couple things I'm going to share about Gemini today. So window, here we go. All right, so I'm going to come back over here and we're going to go to gems, and I'm going to hit new gem. I'm going to paste that in. I'm just going to call this prompt demo, prompt generator demo. And I'm just going to paste that in here and click. Whoops, no, I don't need to do that. Just click save. Start chat. All right. And then right here we go. I'm just going to say go. Right. And that's it. You just got to, tell it to do something. Boot, start, go, whatever. Okay. It's great to meet you. As an expert prompt engineer, I'm helping you to craft the perfect instructions to get the best possible results from an AI. To get us started on the right foot, what is the task you are completing? Right. And so just very quickly, I'm just curious, share of voice metric. I'm going to look that up in Google real quick. I'm just trying to find who, I don't know which, we'll just use this one as an example. It doesn't really matter right now. I don't know which tool it is that you're using that requires that, but I'm sure they're all very similar. So I would say, I want to know how to optimize for share of voice. Some context about this metric, and then just paste that URL in, right? I'm going to do something like that. Obviously, guys, like I'm on the spot right now. So, but typically, I'd spend a few moments. That's not bad for the starting kind of prompt, but let that go. And then it's going to then start to ask follow-up questions about specifically what it is that we're looking for, right? And so that's the process to go through. And there's a series you'll go through, a 5 or 10 minute period of answering questions about what the, what you're trying to accomplish with the prompt that you're asking this to generate for you. Okay. So right here, it comes back to help me build the most effective prompt for your needs. Let's dive into some context. What is the specific domain or industry you're working in? Who is the primary audience? Are you focusing on a specific channel? Do you currently have access to monitoring tools, right? So you answer these questions and then hit go and see what happens. It likely will come back and ask you some additional questions. And that's why I said, spend 10 or 15 minutes. I was working in AI today, developing ICPs, right? Ideal customer profiles. And I spent over 90 minutes on just answering questions. And I'm not even a third of the way through the process of developing the ICPs, ideal customer profiles, because again, I want the ideal customer profile document and data set that we get to be very detailed, because that's how we base our product and service development, right? It's how we base our marketing and sales copy, right? Our creatives, everything is based around our ideal customer profile, ICP. And so again, something like that, it's worth, instead of very quickly, like, I need an ICP for local marketing agencies. Like, no, I've spent 90 minutes just answering questions about what it is that I'm trying to accomplish, what services I provide, who my audience. Sorry, I got Google Voice coming through. Family member who's been trying to reach me for 2 days, and it's my aunt, and she always calls me during fucking work hours, and then she'll call 5 times in a row because I don't answer. Anyway, I don't know why. Anyway, so I like I said, guys, it's totally worth it, in my opinion, to spend the time. The more input, the more detail you give on the input, the better the output's going to be. And I found, just again through trial and error over the last several weeks, that if I try to take a shortcut, and sometimes I still am tempted to take a shortcut on the front end, and then I pay for it later. And so I've realized now, like, sometimes it just irritates me to know that I'm going to spend 20 minutes typing out a bunch of answers to questions, but when the output comes out the way that I want, it's worth it. You know what I mean? So anyway, hopefully that answers that question. Let's move on to the next one. Tim says, I build and host multiple client sites across the same niche, or if I build and host multiple client sites across the same niche, is there a risk to building the same niche links to all of them using sites from the semantic links inventory, or is there a limit? For example, if I had 10 landscaping client sites, can I use 10 individual landscaping niche relevant sites to provide each client with the 10 backlinks from each, one from each referring domain? Yeah, but you have to be careful on how you're hosting your sites. If you're building and hosting all of these sites, let's say you've got 10 different clients in the landscaping niche, and you host all 10 sites on the exact same host, and you don't use any sort of reverse DNS or like Cloudflare or something like that, then you're leaving a footprint, right? When you're doing link building that way, you can use, our links don't provide a footprint because we use dozens of data centers. Amazon, we use Amazon S3 as for a lot of our what we call custom rebuilds, but then we also use, dozens and dozens of Cloudflare accounts for a lot of our blogs. And we have our blogs hosted on various platforms, including VPSs across DigitalOcean is what I use, or DigitalOcean, Linode. There's a number of them. I don't even manage that side of the business anymore. My web team does that. So I don't remember. We got a number of VPSs that we use, but everything we also run through Cloudflare. And again, dozens and dozens of Cloudflare accounts. No kidding. But in your case, if you're talking about 10, what I would do is maybe 2 or 3 direct on the host without using Cloudflare. So direct DNS connecting to the IP of the host, whatever that is. And then I'd probably split up a handful of them that would use, like probably no more than 3 or 4 sites per Cloudflare account. Each time you get a different Cloudflare account, and even sometimes in the same Cloudflare account, you'll get different name servers, right? Most of the time in one Cloudflare account, all of this domains that you add will get the same set of name servers. At least it used to be that way, but it may have changed because I've noticed recently where adding a new domain to an existing Cloudflare account will give you in some cases, a different set of name servers. Well, those name servers are tied to different IP blocks like ranges and Cloudflare, and they're dynamic. They'll change. The IPs will kind of rotate through whatever that IP block is. And so Cloudflare is one of the safest ways to kind of mask or hide your server. You have to have the cloud icon turned on in Cloudflare in order for it to work, right? That's the reverse proxy icon has to be turned on so that you're using the Cloudflare IPs instead of your direct to your host, if that makes sense. But That's one of the quickest and easiest ways that you can kind of mask any potential footprint. Again, if you have all of your sites hosted on the same host with the same IP, and then you use our link services where you get one link from one of our referring domains, so our link sources, that goes to all 10 of those sites, that's the footprint is on your server. Do you understand? Because you're getting every single site has the same IP, and all 10 of those sites would be getting this link from the same source or referring domain. The footprint is on your end, not ours. Does that make sense? And that's just, and I'm not, saying that you've done anything wrong here. I'm telling you how to make sure that you're safe if you're going to do that. That's why I always tell people, if you're building and managing sites for clients, you should be splitting it up across different hosts or using different Cloudflare accounts or something similar. Another one I think you could use is it's called Akamai, right? I think it's called Akamai, MAI, I believe it is. This is it right here. This is also very similar to Cloudflare. This actually has dynamic IPs for sure, which means like if you use this as kind of your DNS server, like almost like Cloudflare does, it's pretty cool because whenever you could refresh, like go look at what is the IP of my website, right? If you're using Akamai or however I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I'm thinking Akamai is how you pronounce it, but you can go in and you could refresh what is my IP for this site. And you can sometimes see the IP change, which is really cool. So there's a number of ways to kind of mask any potential footprint issues. And just, again, go to Gemini or whatever your favorite model is, Claude or ChatGPT, whatever, and ask specifically, hey, if I'm trying to hide footprints of websites for SEO purposes, how would I do it? You know what I mean? Like, again, just go ask. The information will be provided. So hopefully that's clear. All right, let's go to the next one. Desco says, if I wanted to brand each location subdomain for a separate customer brand and add different GBPs to each location subdomain, also subdomains are in the same niche. What strategy to adopt for the root domain? Do I brand it or not, or just make it niche generic? I would make it niche. Well, in other words, I would make it. I don't know why you would want to do that though, honestly, Desco. I would be concerned about that because you could cause some brand ambiguation for the subdomains. If I were going to do that, and not, by the way, it's worth testing, 100% worth testing. Okay. I'm not trying to discourage you. As a matter of fact, I encourage the test because I don't have an answer for you here. If I were going to test this, that's the answer I'm going to give you. If I were going to test this, which I think it's a valid test. Okay. I would do it would be all in the same industry, right? It says all subdomains in the same niche. So I would make the root domain just basically a directory of the subdomain. So it would be optimized. The root domain would be optimized. It could be optimized for a brand, if like a marketing agency brand, I guess it could be, or whatever, but it would be niche focused, right? So it's basically just generic information about the niche. And then it would just have a list or a page that would go that say, partners or whatever it is that you call them, clients. I don't know. I wouldn't call it that on the root domain, but partners or providers or whatever, right? And then it would just be a directory of locations that are managed or that are provided on that subdomain. I would be worth testing, but I would do a small test first to see how it performs so that you're not spending a lot of time on it. Like set up a root domain that's basically acting as just kind of a generic brand of some sort that's related to that industry. Create a couple of subdomain sites you could even test that without a client, right? You could just create it for existing companies in whatever industry you're checking on, just to test it to see how it performs and see, get it, try to get them indexed and see what happens. So what I'm saying, like, just to kind of clarify what I'm talking about, is on the root domain, I would make it, industry specific, but generic in that it wouldn't be targeting any particular brand unless you are developing a brand as like a marketing agency or whatever for that industry, in which case you could probably make the root domain about that. But then say like our partners or our providers or our recommended providers or something like that, featured providers or something like that on the directory page, which would just be a list of the subdomain sites. Then the subdomain sites, like I said, I don't know whether you have clients or not yet. If you do, great, test it with a couple of clients. So build 2 or 3 subdomains like what you're talking about. Don't spend a lot of time on it. Use a template. It's the exact same template for all 3. Let's just say you did it for 3 different landscaping companies in this example. If you don't have clients, just pick 3 landscaping companies that are already in existence, right? They don't have to be your clients. Just build it and see. Again, if you're just testing, that doesn't hurt anything, right? You could just create a very simple sites as on subdomains that are optimized for clients if you have them. If not, just go pick 3 landscapers in this example, have 3 different sites and see if it works. Like, see how does it perform once it gets indexed. And then you can, play around, iterate off of that a bit to start to see if you can get it to improve, that kind of stuff. You'll have your answer then. I don't know, because I'm not sure. My guess is it would probably be challenging to produce good results, because all the subdomains, even though they're treated as separate websites, there's still a connection between the subdomain and the root. And it could cause some brand ambiguation, is what I'm saying. For all of the subdomain that are different brands, that could cause problems. I don't know that for sure. In my opinion, it's likely, but that's why I would want to test it. I think it's a valid test, is what I'm saying. And so if I were going to do it, I'd do it the way that I just told you, because if it starts to cause problems for either clients or just random brands that you selected to test with, you just go kill the subdomain sites and they go right back to where they were before, no problems. But if it doesn't hurt their existing sites, and you see that it's starting to perform well, or it ranks well, or when it at least gets initially indexed. Remember, when something initially indexes, guys, we often see kind of a boost up. It performs well when it's first indexed, and then it slowly fades out or drops over the course of 4 to 6 weeks, somewhere around there. And then, then you're required to build the proper authority, proper relevance, proper link equity, all that kind of stuff in order to bring it back. But usually when something first indexes, it indexes fairly well if it's structured properly. Let's put it that way. And we've seen that for a long time. So that's why I'm saying you could test with that just to see, like, hey man, if I got some decent rankings out of this right out of the gate, then I might be onto something. And as long as it doesn't cause any problems for the existing websites, you could continue to iterate, right? Split test different configurations. Now that you've got a handful of subdomain sites, you can split test different things on different subdomains. Remember, single variable testing is how you determine what is effective, not changing 8 things at a time on one site, because you have no idea which of the 8 things had an effect, or which combination of those 8 things produced the effect. You have no idea. If you do a bunch of changes all at one time, you really have no idea what was the recipe that created the result, positive or negative. So I always recommend you establish a baseline, like a benchmark of how something is performing, which again, direct response marketing principles becomes the control. The control is the best performing, even if it's the start of a campaign and it's the first metric, first ranking, first time whatever the first rank report is, that's your control at the starting point. And then you go in and you do single variable changes, like changing SEO titles or an H1, or changing the content or the structure of a page or something like that. And just to kind of split test to say, okay, once this change has been made, I resubmit it for indexing, allow it to be recrawled and reindexed, which can take a few days now. And then give it 2 or 3 weeks for it to I always recommend 3 weeks if possible. I know we're impatient as SEOs. It sucks to do single variable testing and have to wait 3 weeks to see what kind of final effect of that change was. You have to allow the algorithm to settle when you make changes like that, because it's like dropping a rock into a pond. It creates ripples. You have to wait for the dust to settle, the ripples to kind of subside, so to speak, to understand what kind of performance effect that change had, positive or negative. And then if it had a positive effect, then what I always recommend is that, and by the way, that's why I was saying it's a good test, because if you had, like, just as an example, 3 different subdomain sites, you could test different things on 3 different sites, right? And on each site would have a number of pages likely. So you can even test single variable tests on different pages of the site. So you can it's much faster to do that kind of testing when you've got multiple sites to test on when doing single variable testing, because otherwise you've got to wait 3 weeks between each test. And so it's better to just have a bunch of test sites out there to test different things on and keep notes. But I'm telling you, it's worth it, guys, because once you identify, if you find something that has a positive performance gain, then what I always recommend is duplicating that across other test pages or sites, whatever, and looking to see, does it produce the similar result, right? Is it duplicatable? And it doesn't have to be 100% of the time it produces that result, as long as it's more often than not. So meaning like 60% or greater of the time that change is applied, it produces a positive result, or as long as it doesn't produce a negative result. Sometimes it may be a marginal change, and in some cases it might be a good, a positive, a significant positive change. As long as it doesn't produce any negative results, then I look at, as long if more often than not that single variable change produces a positive gain, marginal or significant, then I'm going to now make that, work that into the control. That becomes the new control. Hopefully that's clear. So I think it's a valid test, but there would be some concerns about brand ambiguation that could occur from that, but you wouldn't know without testing. So, and again, it's worth it, guys, because if you were to find out, Desco, it worked well, there's a benefit, which I've taught for years, about building on subdomain sites. Typically it's all on the same brand, but there is a real benefit to that, because every time you build links to a subdomain site, you're actually benefiting and juicing up, right? Powering up the root domain, which ultimately benefits all of these sibling subdomains as well. So it's kind of like a flywheel, in that you can build links to the root domain and it powers up all the subdomains, or better yet, you charge clients for link building, right? As part of your retainer, and you use their money to build links to the subdomain that you've assigned to them. And that benefits your root domain, which then therefore also benefits all the other subdomains that are connected. So each one of your clients that are paying for links for their subdomain sites that you own and control, right? They're actually benefiting all the other clients that you're managing under that same domain, right? So it's like crowdsourcing link building. Does that make sense? So it's a very valid strategy. I've not attempted it with multiple brands, but I have done it many times with single brands in multiple locations. Hopefully that's clear. That's a good question. Jay says, with regards to weekly or multiple per week Google post updates sent on behalf of clients, excuse me, what kind of content is usually posted? Just trying to think of a plan of what to fill 12 posts a month with. Thank you. Do they have pages on their site, Jay? If they've got pages on their site, you summarize a page on the site, and that's a link. That's a Google post, right? Go to ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever your favorite AI model is, and say, create a Google business post from a summary of this page. Put the URL in there, right? And then put whatever call. Here's the call to action, right? And you can give it more context again, and put time in the prompt. So go to Gemini. You can create a gem for this, by the way. Let's demonstrate this. Let's go over to Gemini. That's my favorite. Well, Grok and Gemini are my favorites, although more recently I've been using Misty Studio, MSTY Studio, which is a desktop app that you can do all kinds of really cool shit with. Guys, check it out, by the way. It's really cool as well. This is called MISTY Studio. And that's probably going to the, let's go to MSTY. That's probably the actual cloud app, Misty app. Sorry, it was Misty app. I'm going to show this to you real quick, and then I'll go back and finish the question right there. Misty.ai is the main site. Misty.studio is where you log in to the cloud version of it, but it's also a desktop app. But this is really, really cool. I've actually downloaded Llama. So I've got a local model now on my PC. So I've been doing a lot of stuff with the local model, because it's just really fast, and it doesn't cost anything. So doing a lot of heavy AI stuff I'm doing in my local model now, but Misty's really, really cool. Anyway, coming back over to Gemini, we're going to go over to gems, click new gem, right? And then in here, I would create a Google business post gem, right? So just again, GB post generator or something like that, right? Generator. And then I would put in here into the system prompt specifically like parameters. Let me demonstrate this, guys. I'm going to have to open up another document in another browser window for a minute. So just bear with me while I do this, and then I'll bring it over in here. But I'll give you an example. One of my, we talked about launching Clone Constructor. I was hoping to have it launched again on Monday this week. I'm still waiting on my AI dev team to finish the publishing automations. The posting automations, we've got a number of posting automations that we're building, because we don't know what configuration people use. And so we want to make sure we have multiple options. So we still got to delay it. I can't I can't complete the training until I have the posting automations done. So I've got to wait till the AI dev team finishes it. So unfortunately, we're a little bit delayed on that. It is what it is. I'd rather wait and launch it properly than to try to launch it rushed without it being complete. And then people are pissed off. So it is what it is. All right. Anyways, what I'm going to show you guys is this is a post type data pack. So the clone constructor training is specifically about building what I call AI avatar copy engines, or ACE. So an ACE. And that is data pack driven. In that, data packs are modular plugins, which are just sets of instructions that instruct the AI to do specific things. And so one of the things that I have as part of the clone constructor training are AI post type data packs that specifically provide instructions about when publishing on a particular platform, how to format it, how the copy should be written, the kind of what is the most effective types of content, and to style the copy in that type of a style that is more effective on that platform, that sort of thing. So I'm just going to pull open my Google Business Post data pack right here. I'm going to copy the URL real quick, and I'm going to open it up in another, the browser tab that you guys are looking at. Stand by, that's here. And so this is the, I don't know why it's so zoomed in. It was because I had the question zoomed in. So this is the Google Business Post data pack, right? So this would be a set of instructions that you add into, again, in this case, what I would do, I prefer to copy it in an MD format, but just for brevity's sake, I'm going to copy this. Look at this, guys. It's 6 pages of content that specifically instruct the AI how to develop a GB post. You see what I'm saying? This is what I'm talking about, guys. Like, you just build these tools. AI has made it so easy for us to build these tools that, Jay, you should never have any problem publishing Google Business Posts for any client, period, right? And so let me demonstrate this first. I'm just going to select all, copy, come back over to the gem, paste it into the system instructions, and I'm going to click save. All right, so I'm going to say start chat. And then from here, I would give it some context. I would say, let's just go pull. Let's see. Let me see if I can think of some. Let's see, Rapid Tree Care. Let's look at that. Rapid Tree Care. I think it's Warminster, PA. It's actually a link building client. He's a tree service guy who's learning SEO. I really appreciate this guy. I got on a call with him because of my Tree Care HQ directory. And as I was going over the directory listing and I was about to start pitching him SEO services, he told me that he does his own SEO. And I was just like, oh yeah, really? And so I sold him on link building instead. And so he's a white label client now. He's an actual business owner, but really cool guy. So anyways, this guy right here is, his name's Caleb, but he's a really cool dude. So anyways, what I would do is I would, go to his website. Let's just grab a page, tree removal, right? So I would say, create a Google Business Post, create a GB post, summarizing this page. Whoops. Audience is residential. Sorry, guys. I always try to rush it when I'm on a webinar. Audience is residential residential property owners. Call to action is to contact us to schedule a free estimate, right? And something like that. And then just hit go, right? And so I'm going to hit go. And I'd probably add a little bit more context. You could, but my point is all the pages on the site now become targets for Google Business Posts. Every citation, which I've been teaching about this for years, guys. You should be publishing posts consistently for the client, a minimum of 2 per week. One where one per week where the learn more button, the call to action button, the learn more button where you can link to a page URL is always linking back to some page or post on the main website that is relevant to that business location. If it's a single business location, or excuse me, a single location business, then every page on that site is relevant to that business location. If it's a multi-location business, then only certain pages of that site should be relevant to that business location. So therefore, from that GBP, you're going to link out to every single page or post on the main website that is relevant to that business location. And this is right here. You just go exactly what I just showed you how to do, right? Develop a gem or a project. If you're in Claude or something else, whatever app is your favorite, go create a project that you add the system instructions that fully describes how you want Google Business posts published. And then all you do is prompt the copy request for each post. And by the way, you don't have to do it on a post by post basis. You can give it a list of page URLs and say, I want a different post for each one of these. And you can literally schedule out 30 days of posts from one prompt. No kidding. You just got to prompt it properly and tell it, here's what I want. Here's the 30 page URLs I want to prompt. Let's say you wanted, let's say you did 2 posts per week, and then that would be 8 posts in a month. Let's just say, okay, for example, you could just say, here's 8 posts that I want created. Here's the context of each one of these posts. The URLs, I want you to summarize each one of these, and then it will put an output. And by the way, if you ask it to do it in tools, let me just show you. If I just recreate this again, excuse me, I said, if you click on tools and you click on canvas, it just makes it a little bit easier. It's going to give me, it should give me a different output now, but it should put it over in the canvas over here, which makes it easier to copy and paste. See what I'm saying? And so then from here, once it's done, now you can copy the contents or you can export to docs, which I don't know why you would do that. But if you had a whole sequence of posts for an entire month, for example, and put into the canvas, yes, then I would export that to docs, Google Docs, right? And then now you would just be copying and pasting from Google Docs into your post scheduling app. So you could sit down and within an hour, you could create all the posts for the entire month and actually schedule them, right? And like within an hour, 90 minutes, you could have a whole month's worth of posts done, right? Super simple, guys. And so, as I mentioned before, so linking to every page on the site that is relevant to that business location, it's important because you are literally direct link connection from the Google Business Profile to product and service pages and or location pages on the main site, which helps to corroborate what Google understands about who the business is, what they do, and where they do it, right? Think about how the Google Business Profile is optimized, guys. It starts with the name, that's who the business is. What is the next data point? The Google Business category, that's what they do. And what is the next data point? It's their contact information, which is where they are. Right? I've been talking about this for years. So what I'm saying is if you are linking to the various pages and posts on the main site that are relevant to that business, aren't you corroborating or validating how the GBP is optimized because you're providing with a direct linked connection from the GBP to pages on the site that validate or corroborate what the GBP is optimized for. Okay. And then same thing with the external. The second post per week minimum that should be done should be linking out to external page URLs that have accurate information published about that business. Remember, that's a reference to name, address, phone number, and website, or some combination of those 4 data points, right? It doesn't have to be all 4. It could just be a, name and phone number, name and address, name and website, phone number and website. Doesn't matter. Any combination of those 4 data points becomes a citation. If it's a published mention, that's a citation, right? And so linking out with the Google Business Profile to external page URLs that have accurate information published about the business is a way to almost force Google to pull that data point into the knowledge graph for that branded business location. You guys understand that? Let me pause for one more second. I got another thing I want to share with you. Infographics. Notebook LM, again, another Google Gemini driven product. Blog. I'm going to show you guys an infographic. I just reworked. I spent about 2 days this week working on what I call pre-sales nurture sequence for semantic links. So between when the call is booked, the appointment is booked to get on a sales call, I finally took the time to develop, because it's a lot easier now to develop some resources to kind of do a pre-sale nurture sequence before they ever even get onto the sales call, because that makes it a lot easier on the sales call to just answer questions. Really, it's a formality at that point, right? It's they already understand how we operate everything else. My sales calls have been an hour long for 4 years now, but I'm thinking it could be reduced to 20 to 30 minutes by just providing all this information before the sales call. Like, here's everything that we're going to cover during the presentation. So we're still going to have the sales call, but that's really just to answer questions. If you want me to go through it again, I certainly can. But anyways, why I bring that up is because here's what I was talking about. This is one of the things that I bring up in the pre-sales nurture sequence. Let me see if I zoom out a little bit on this one. But here's what I was talking about. Branded location authority is the number one factor in local SEO. And number two is site efficiency. I've been talking about that for years. And so how do we build more branded location authority? Well, you get referenced on more external sources, number one. And number two, you make sure that you assist with discoverability. Make sure that Google and the language models are aware of where there is corroborating evidence online. So external page URLs that validate name, address, phone number, and website, or some combination of those data points. You see what I'm saying? So it's not enough to just get listed on other external platforms. You have to kind of spoon feed that data back to the algorithms in order for them to recognize it. Because, and I talk about this on sales calls and also in now the pre-sale sequence, it's like a jigsaw puzzle, guys. The branded business location knowledge graph, right, is like a puzzle, and a knowledge graph is like this regardless, but it's like a puzzle. When you verify a GBP, it's like going to a store and buying a puzzle. You know what the puzzle is supposed to look like on the box because of the cover image, right? And you've bought the puzzle, but you haven't put it together yet. So you go home and you dump it out onto a table, and you have to spend time sifting and sorting through all those pieces, this mess of data, so to speak, to try to organize and fit pieces together properly. And the more time you spend finding pieces and organizing them properly and fitting them together, in time, an image will start to emerge from that mess, which will resemble what shows on the box. As you find more data points, puzzle pieces, and you fit them together properly, the sharper or clearer that image becomes. And eventually you have enough puzzle pieces together that you can clearly see what the image was that was on the box. It's very much like that with the knowledge graph. When you verify a Google business profile, that's like buying the puzzle. And then Google goes home and dumps the puzzle out on the table and looks across trillions of web URLs to try to find and put the puzzle together through those trillions of data points. And it's looking for external data points that validate what it understands about how the GBP was optimized and verified, who the business is, what they do, and where they do it, right? And so if you leave Google on its own, and when I say Google, guys, it's language models too, because they all operate under similar principles, right? It's all knowledge graph driven, entity-based, what do they call it, distance graph, and all of that. It's all very similar. And so if you leave the language models, the algorithms, to put the puzzle together on their own, they're very inefficient about it, because they have to crawl through trillions of web URLs to find literal needles in a haystack, right? And so if you can spoon feed that data back to the algorithms in strategic ways, one of them, as we were discussing in this particular question, is Google Business Posts. What are the other ways? Put them in same as attributes of the local business schema, which should be inserted on the location landing page for that GBP. Right? Put them into an ID page, Google Sheet embed into an ID page where you take all the external page URLs that have accurate information published about that business location. Put them into I put keywords in column A, all those URLs in column B, and then I use a concatenate formula in column C, which automatically converts the URLs into anchor text links based upon the keyword of that same row, right? And then you hide columns 1 and 2, you leave column C, right? Column C, show that displayed, and then grab the embed code and embed that into your ID page, which your ID page should be designated as the designated or dedicated ID page in the add ID field of the local business schema. So now what have you done? You've now done 3 different things to kind of spoon feed the data back to the algorithms. One is specifically for Google, that's Google Business Posts, linking out to external page URLs that have valid information or accurate information published about that business location. Number 2, schema. Number 3, ID page. The number 2 and number 3 are for the other algorithms as well as Google, but for the other algorithms too. You see what I'm saying? So that's why, guys, I point this out, because you have the opportunity and should be. Guys, citations have made such a super, like they've become so much more important again, all of a sudden, because of AI search. I'm not kidding. Like, I'm going all in on citation building right now, especially with high authority directories are great. So Yext power listings, I know I just got a question from a link building client about that again today. Like, what's really the value of that? I see massive value in it right now. Whether it's Yext power listings or something comparable, Uberall or whatever, that's fine. It doesn't matter. The exact provider doesn't matter. It's just getting listed on high authority directories that matters. But then also getting listed on niche or industry specific directories and hyper local directories. All of those things have big influences on AI search performance right now. And the citation building is although for those other types of directories, which I'm trying to build a done for you service for that for, it's a bit it is fully manual right now. At least I'm working on trying to automate that. So there's a kind of a time investment required. The other option that works really well right now, and I recommend doing both, is press releases. Press releases are crushing it for getting into AI search and improving AI search performance for brands. It's not about getting the brand itself or the website of the brand in the AI search. It's about the brand mention in the AI search. And that can be achieved much quicker by publishing on high authority properties. And that's why I said high authority directories and press releases are kind of two of the fastest ways to improve AI search performance, but also, again, industry specific or hyperlocal directories. And so what I'm getting at here is you can either put the manual effort into building hyperlocal directory listings, et cetera, or you can spend more cash and get press releases done, which is a lot easier to just have press releases published. So it's like one of the 6 in one, half dozen in the other. You either spend more time or more money. Either way, both, I recommend kind of balancing both between both, because that's going to give you the best chance of ranking in both in AI search as well as Google search. And so all of that to come back to the question is, guys, I mean, I've been teaching this for years, been very public about it too. And all the time I do audits for clients, for white label clients. And I'm very thorough in my audits, incredibly thorough in my audits. And I spend an hour recording just the video. After I spend an hour to 90 minutes preparing the written document, I spend an hour just recording the video, explaining each one of the points in the audit. And I spend so much time telling clients about Google Business Posts, and the vast majority of them later on, 6 months down the road or whatever, they'll sometimes come back and ask for a re-audit, where I'll go back and audit it again. And I go back and look, and they're not doing the publishing of the posts. I think a lot of SEOs don't see the value of it. Okay, fine, don't do it then. But if, you know, and continue to struggle to get results, or just do it. It's not hard to do when you've got Gemini like this, where you can publish posts. Literally, you could publish 30 posts at once with this same exact method with a gem created, right? So there's no reason, there's no excuse. And with post schedulers, there's no excuse to not just do it. It really does help. And I don't understand why so many SEOs just completely ignore that recommendation that I've been making for years about that, because it absolutely makes a difference if you do it consistently. Of course, if you just publish a couple of posts here and there and link out to various things, that's not going to help. But if you do it consistently, it absolutely helps. In fact, let me give you a quick example of that. There was one of my white label link building clients. I went and did an audit for him a few days ago. It might've been last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever. Apparently they had a post scheduler that was targeting laser hair removal. It was a med spa and a skincare clinic. And they were targeting laser hair removal with a Google Business Post. Only one Google Business Post was being published per month. And it was on the 28th of the month, or the 28th or 29th of the month. Every month it was the same post. And what was it? It was a brief description of laser hair removal with the learn more button linking to the laser hair removal page on the site. And there was like 3 years of posts where and that was it. Every month it was that same post on the same date, linking to the same page. And guess what? One keyword they were absolutely crushing it for in map search: laser hair removal. None of their other keywords were doing well at all in map search, but they were literally #1 across the entire area, a much bigger area than they should have been, because they had 3 years of Google Business Posts targeting one page, one service. I'm not suggesting anybody do that, but what I'm suggesting, and I mentioned this to the audit client in the video that I recorded, I was like, do you see this? I've been telling you about this, because this is a long time white label client. I've been telling you about publishing Google Business Posts for how many years now? That's what I said in the video. And then I said, and look, this validates what I've been saying. This one client is performing very poorly, and all other search queries except this one where they're crushing it. And the website was not optimized to make it such that they should have been crushing it for that particular query. So where did that result come from? It must be this. You see what I'm saying? So again, guys, you know, a lot of the things that people thought were kind of insignificant aren't, especially now. And so I'd encourage you to just, like I said, link out regularly with GB Posts to things that you want to kind of create or force an association, force the models to recognize an association between the Google Business Profile and validating data points that corroborate what it understands about who the business is, what they do, and where they do it. Okay. Hopefully that's clear. All right, we're going to try to roll through the next few. I know it's 5 o'clock, so if anybody else got to go, just go. I'm going to wrap up these last few questions, guys, and we'll call it quits for the day. So Mike says, for a directory listing site, how often do you refresh each business profile page with Google Maps data? I don't. We embed the Google Map URL. If they are a paid client, we embed the Google Map into the directory listing, and that automatically updates, like the review counts and everything else. So, yeah, we don't go back, if it's a client and they request that they have some images updated on their directory listing, then we'll do that. But we don't typically do that. I mean, if they ask us to, but most clients don't ask for that. So if it's a paid client, I don't sell premium listings. Our listings are all free. But if they are a paid client, then I do additional things to their listing, like embed their Google business profile, if that's clear. And if they ask for images to be updated, we'll do it. All right. By the way, Jeremy from Press Advantage, he developed a brand new directory building platform that is HTML, very lean code. I am 100% replacing TreeCare HQ on WordPress with the new platform. It's going to be ready very soon. I'm so excited about it because I absolutely hate WordPress with a passion. I do. I can't stand WordPress. I hate every time I have to log in to my directory site. No kidding. I absolutely hate WordPress. And he developed a very lean HTML driven directory site builder that's amazing with vibe coding. Like, it's got a chat box, and you can upload a data set, you can create data sets, but then you can go literally chat with it and have it, make edits for you. And oh my God, it's so much better. I can't wait for him to launch it. Just so you guys know it's coming. And by the way, there's also a site builder, a local site builder as part of that. So I can't wait for me to be able to demo that for you guys when it's available. All right, next one from Mike. I have multiple directory listing sites and LLG sites across different niche categories and using Cloudflare on all. Still, do you recommend hosting all of these sites on the same server or mix it up across different web hosts? No, I mean, like I said, as long as you're masking, like using Cloudflare, different Cloudflare accounts, you can use Akamai, you can use things like that. You can also use different VPSs. Like, they're very inexpensive, guys. Cloudways, that's what I was trying to think of earlier. If you go to Cloudways allows you to spin up, I was trying to think of that term earlier, guys, and I couldn't think of it. But Cloudways right here, this is great because you can go to Cloudways and you can deploy VPS servers very inexpensively across different providers very, very quickly. So DigitalOcean, Vultr or whatever, Linode, AWS, Google Cloud Hosting. So you see, like, you can literally go here, guys, and spin off spin off a VPS or set up a VPS, deploy VPS very quickly. And each one of these providers has multiple data centers you can select, like Dallas or Atlanta or Chicago and things like that. And each time you select a different data center and you create a new VPS, you get a new IP range. And oftentimes they're unique A block or B block IPs, not just C-class IP hosting, right? Like what we used to do, old school SEOs know what I'm talking about. Usually they're very, very, and even if you're in the same, let's say you pick Chicago as a data center and you create a DigitalOcean VPS, and then you go back and you create another DigitalOcean VPS in Chicago, you're likely going to get two different B-class or C-class IPs on those VPSs anyways. And so I recommend, if you're going to be managing and hosting sites for clients, that you try to clean your footprint up and prevent any kind of footprint issues by using multiple VPSs, different things, different Cloudflare accounts, etc. It's important to do that. If you're going to be using the same link sources for your client sites, if you're not using the same link sources, it doesn't matter, as long as you're not linking the sites together on the hosts, right? But if you're going to be using like the same link provider and you're hosting sites for clients, you want to make sure that you're masking any potential footprint there. That's all I'm saying. Allah says, for local business clinics in competitive areas, what is realistically the target local grid area that they can maintain a top 3 rank within? It depends. 100% depends on the population of the area. The population density really is what matters, as well as the number of competitors in that area. So, our default report settings are an 11 by 11 grid with 0.5 mile spacing between nodes. So if you think about that, that's 5.5 miles across or 2 3/4 of a mile in any direction from where the GBP is located. That works for most storefront businesses and also for service area businesses and like suburbs and things like that. But the more rural areas typically get broader coverage, or if it's in an industry with very few competitors, you get much broader coverage. So there's a number of variables that determine what is appropriate for a particular business, depending on the area that they're in, that they're located in, and what the competition levels are, the population density, et cetera. Right. So again, there is no rule of thumb. I'm just letting you know my default report settings that applies to most local businesses is an 11 by 11 grid with 0.5 mile spacing. And then once we get them to a point where they're ranking solidly, within the top 3 across that entire area, then we'll expand it to 1 mile spacing, right? Which would be 11 miles across or 5.5 miles in any direction. And we do that because if you do 11 by 11 grid is 121 points. A 15 by 15 grid, which is what I used to use a lot in Bright Local, is a 225 point grid, but the cost goes way up to run that because of there's a multiplier for each one of the nodes, right? However many points are in the local search grid, that multiplies. There's a cost per node. And so I'm on an enterprise account and I often spend, $2,000, $2,200 a month on Bright Local reports. No shit. And so we've learned over time to restrict it down to an 11 by 11 grid because the costs are a lot less for us that way. And we can still convey how the campaign is performing and improving based upon that analysis. And then, like I said, once we get them solidly in the number, the top 3 across the 11 by 11 with 0.5 mile spacing grid, then we will usually just increase the distance to 1 mile and then start tracking it that way. Because we just doubled the area that way. Does that make sense? Without doubling the cost of the report run. So, all right. Alex says, hey, Bradley, could you speak on when we should use QGP links? So that's quality guest posts, links, or other backlinks in addition to the SM plans. Alex, I recommend just, depends on your budget. For my tree guys, I've been very clear about this many times. I've been open about this. For tree guys, depending on their retainer value, because those links aren't cheap. So what he's talking about are outreach links, traditional outreach links where they're selling you on metrics, right? I typically don't give a shit about metrics, but in this case, I care about traffic statistics. And so QGP is quality guest posts, and it's a outreach link provider, and they start at $199 per link. So it's not cheap. So what I do is for tree guys, most of my tree guys are on $1,000 a month retainer. That's the average. So for them, I will buy 1 outreach link per quarter. I do that for all clients. For the clients that are on higher budgets, like $1,500 or $2,000 a month, then we'll usually buy 2 per quarter. And that's just because, again, what I found is the metric that we're looking for there are traffic. We still look for page level relevance from the referring page that's going to be linking to the target. I still require page level relevance from the link, but what I'm actually purchasing is traffic metrics from the referring domain. That's what I'm buying, right? But I still require the link to be placed within relevant content at the referring page level. Does that make sense? And I do that specifically for the traffic signals. That's all, because what I found is we can spend the budget on lower cost links that are pushing relevance. And then we spend a little bit of the budget on the links with the traffic, and the traffic, metrics are what kind of help to ignite, or just kind of helps the rest of the link building to be more effective, if that's clear. Traffic is a validator. There's no question. I used to run CTR through all my link building sites and everything, but that became unmanageable once we got past 500 sites. It really became unmanageable. So we don't do that anymore. So, all right. Jay says, can you talk about opening paragraph on a site and the benefits of doing this? Company does the thing, and here is where they do the thing. Yeah, that's a semantic triple. Just go do a quick search, Jay, on what is a semantic triple. I call that an entity association statement. Subject, predicate, or subject, object, predicate, I believe is the appropriate way. But that's how language models understand concepts, right? Because it's, again, distance graph and entity adjacency, right? And what that's why I call it an entity association statement, also known as a semantic triple, because you're saying this is who we are, this is what in local, this is who we are, this is what we do, and this is where we do it. You can rearrange those entities. It's not really important. The order isn't so important as it is about just having those entities in SEO titles, especially, which is where you're creating an association between the entities in the SEO title. That's why I always talk about this, guys. The brand entity, the product or service entity or entities, which are Google business categories, right? Broad service categories. That's That's how I optimize for it, right? Brand, product or service entities, Google business category, location or area, depending on what type of business it is. If it's a single location business or a storefront business, you're typically going to target a location. If it's a service area business, you should be targeting an area. Remember, an area is a collection of locations, right? And so if you're doing a service area business, you want to create an entity association statement that creates an association between the brand, the product or services that they provide, and the area in which they provide them. And that's why we do the semantic triple in the SEO titles. That's the most important place for it, in my opinion. So the SEO title, and then you just reinforce that with restating it in the H1, not repeating it. There is a difference between restating and repeating. I see all the time, again, auditing SEO clients. The URL has the exact same keyword as the SEO title in the H1. What are you doing? We don't need to do that anymore. That's over optimization. Don't do it, right? The SEO title should be a semantic triple, and the H1 should restate the entities that were referenced in the SEO title, but not with the same term. You use entity variants, and I've talked about how to do that. Go to the Wikipedia page. A Wikipedia page means it's an entity. Click on tools, what links here, click on the tools, the drop down, what links here, and then you click hide transclusions and hide links and click go. And all of those results that are shown on that page are entity variants. That's what you use to identify first the entities that you're going to target in the SEO title, and then the variants that you're going to use in the H1. And in the opening paragraph is you're basically just reinforcing what the SEO title and the H1 said, right? That's it. You've very clearly defined in the first touch points of the page. Guys, remember, what are the main optimization elements of a page? URL, titles, which includes SEO title and H1, headings, H2s, subheadings, H3s, 4s, 5s, etc., internal links and media. Those are your main optimization elements of the page. So if the URL is always the starting point, because that's how everything that operates on the web operates through links. So the link is always the first touch point. Okay. So then the SEO title and the SEO title and the H1, if they're optimized for entities, creating the proper associations, and then you're using variants, then the first touch points for the models or the algorithms, when they go to crawl the page, fully describe what the page is about and the entity associations that you're trying to accomplish or achieve through that page. It's very clearly defined in the very first touch points of that page. The rest of the page should just reinforce that. That's where the headings, H2s, subheadings, H3s, 4s, 5s, etc., media and internal links come into play, because all of those should be subtopics that support the main ideas that the H1, the SEO title and the H1 clearly defined. That's the whole point, guys. It's simplicity and optimization. It's not the stupid shit that we all used to do with Google business, or excuse me, to optimize for Google, where we had to hammer them over the head with the same keyword in multiple H tags, the URL, the SEO title. All that. Don't do that anymore, guys. I'm telling you, that actually will look. Ian Ovens, which he runs Agency Assassin, he's in this like AI mini mastermind that we have every other week. We do an hour-long meeting discussion group with Jeremy from Press Advantage and Ian from Agency Assassin, Brian Catos. There's some real sharp dudes. And Ian was talking just last week when we had our last call about how he believes that Google is literally targeting pages that are targeting keywords and suppressing them. And I fully agree, 100%. I've not heard anybody describe it in the way that he did, but I 100% agree. And that's what I see all the time in SEO doing audits, guys, watching clients bring their clients to me as a white label provider and say, well, I don't understand, this campaign's not performing really. And then I go do the crawl report from Website Auditor, where we look at URL, SEO title, the number of H1s, the H1 heading itself, and then the number of H2s through H6s. That's what I pulled, 5 data points, 5 columns within the spreadsheet. And I can very quickly, by opening up that spreadsheet, what I'm looking for immediately, and I can see it the moment I open it up, is redundancy, duplication, over-optimization, points of crawl resistance, also known as technical SEO errors. I can see that as soon as I open up the crawl report, pages file, basically, from Website Auditor. Because if the URL, the SEO title, and the H1 and have the exact same term, all three, I know instantly that there's on-page issues. Like as soon as I open up the CSV file, I know I can point it out in a moment's notice. By just looking at the patterns and see, oh, well, this is over-optimized. That's precisely why this campaign is performing well. That's one of the reasons why it's not performing well. because usually when I find the kind of over optimization, there's usually also technical SEO errors. There's usually backlink problems. There's usually entity ambiguation or brand ambiguation. There's usually a multitude of problems when I see poor on-page being done, if that's clear. So anyways, just again, go research semantic triple. It's not hard, but you'll get a better understanding of why it's important and why it's effective in today's current search environment in the semantic web. Okay. Adam says local business owner has a business that ranks well in local search grid. His site is very old and unpleasant to use, so he wants a simplification and refresh so that it's focused. He currently has over 200 pages spread across services, news, blog posts. The new site will just have 10 to 15 pages based on his key services. How would you approach dropping so many pages? Well, I need to set up redirects for many or all of them or not really. Well, go look at Search Console data first and analytics, compare. So go to Search Console, go to performance, click on performance, then go set what I always recommend is 12 months of data. So go look at the, I think by default it's 90 days of data, but I go set the time frame to look at 12 months of Search Console data. And then I click on pages. So we're going to performance report, set it to 12 months, go to pages. So click pages and then sort by impressions to descending, right? And then you can enable average CTR and the average ranking position if you want. And that'll give you four columns of data on the far right side of that Search Console report. And what you're looking for are page URLs that have high impression counts with little to no click activity from search. Once you've identified those page URLs that over 12 months are getting a lot of impressions in search, which means they're indexed and they're relevant to queries, but they're probably ranking very poorly, which is why they're not getting any clicks. And so if there are pages that are getting impressions in Google search, but they're not getting any clicks from search, what is the value of those pages? What purpose do they serve? You understand there is a phenomenon known as impression burn. I learned that from Jimmy Kelly several years ago. And my understanding of it was that there's kind of a ratio of if a site gets a lot of impressions, but very little click activity from search, Google demotes the site because it's obviously not relevant. And I don't know what that ratio is. I'm sure there's a number of variables that determine that, but it's important for better performance of the site to get rid of pages that can contribute to impression burn. Meaning if they're getting a bunch of impressions and they're not ever getting any or getting little to no click-throughs, what is the value of that page? I talk about this all the time in audits. I say it's like going swimming with bricks tied around your neck, right? Those pages are bricks tied around the website's neck, right? It makes it very difficult for it to surface or rise because again, it's dead weight. What is the purpose of the page if it gets a lot of impressions but no clicks? Now, I mentioned analytics too. Why? Because if you want to take the page URLs from Search Console that you've identified have high impressions and little to no clicks over the last 12 months, and then you want to go look at those individual page URLs in analytics and determine, are there traffic signals being sent to any of those page URLs from external sources or referral sources or from internal link clicks? Let me explain. If you are sending social media traffic or paid ads traffic to a particular page, it may never get any clicks from search, but it can still be very valuable to the business. So you can't just go off Search Console data. You can also be sending traffic via email campaigns. You could be sending traffic from search to another entrance page, but then when a consumer or a visitor lands on the site, they then click internally to another page that might get a lot of impressions, but no clicks from search, but still has internal activity from internal link clicks. Does that make sense? So you have to look at both. By the way, Search Atlas, I don't use Search Atlas. I think it's overkill for local, but Search Atlas has a content pruning module, which does that automatically. As long as Search Console and Analytics is connected to Search Atlas, you can run that report very quickly. It's all automated, and it will tell you exactly which page URLs you can prune or redirect to other pages that are performing better, that are similar in topic, if that makes sense. So would you redirect them or get rid of them? Well, first identify the page URLs that are worthy, that are can be pruned or redirected. Once you have that list, then the last step is go analyze the backlink profiles of each of those remaining URLs. Once the filter or criteria have been applied to those, whatever's left as candidates for pruning or redirecting. You then want to go look at those page URLs and backlinks to determine if there's any relevant or valid backlinks that are, valuable backlinks that are pointing to any of those page URLs. Then don't eliminate the page, redirect it. Does that make sense? To another page that's similar in topic. If the page has shitty backlinks or no backlinks, then just get rid of it. What's the purpose of redirecting it? There was no value to the page. It had no backlinks. What value? Just get rid of it. So that's the easiest way, guys. Again, it's a manual process if you do it this way, but I've done that for dozens of clients, seriously, because pruning useless content from this site will help it to perform better. There's no question about that. I've proven that over the last year and a half. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, guys. That's a helpful content update. That's exactly what you're trying to do, is improve the site quality score, getting rid of content that is worthless, dead weight, right? Talk about this all the time. Two most important things: local search, branded location authority. Number two, site efficiency. So site efficiency is what we're talking about right now. Does that make sense? Okay. Last question. National directory site. Where do you recommend a blog? A subdomain. 100%, Pete. Subdomain. 100%. Well, on a directory, you could actually put the blog on the root domain. I've done that with Tree Care HQ. But the blog on Tree Care HQ is about tree services and landscape maintenance and things like that. But then I have a marketing blog too that's on a subdomain, which it's also on WordPress, and I'm going to replace that too because I don't even know how to optimize that site. I don't even know how to optimize WordPress sites anymore, guys, because they've changed so much on the inside, and I hate WordPress. And so we were just doing some testing. So I do have a blog on a subdomain, but we're going to move that over to Jeremy's new platform when it's ready, because I can still publish blog posts, but they're going to be HTML pages, right? And so we're getting off of WordPress 100% entirely. And so I've got a marketing subdomain on treecarehq.com. It's currently on a WordPress site that's horrid because I don't know how to optimize it. No kidding. I hate WordPress, but we're going to be switching it out to the new directory platform anyways, which now will allow us to build local business sites and blogs, and all HTML, very lean, blazingly fast coded pages. I'm super impressed with what he built, and he did it in about 2 weeks. So, all right, guys, I got to wrap up. What is an ID page? Rach ID or whoever you are, go to our YouTube channel and just search, go to our YouTube channel. So youtube.com/semantic mastery, and go to the channel search feature, which is just, right on the main channel page. There's a little search bar, and just search, what is an ID page? That's it. And you'll find it. You can even just go to main Google search. In fact, let's just go over to YouTube real quick. Let me just show you. You can do it right here, but even from the main YouTube, you could do it as well. Let me just show you what I mean. If you just say what is an ID page? It probably comes right up right there. It's the first result. How to use it for local SEO. It's 12 minutes long. Watch it on 1.5 speed, and you should know everything that you need to know about ID pages. Emily, what's up, Emily? How are you? We just had a call earlier. I think it was this week or last week. WordPress is literally the worst. I 100% agree. I hate WordPress. So, all right, guys, everybody have a Merry Christmas. Actually, I am going to be on Hump Day Hangouts next week. I don't know that my partners are going to be on, but I am going to do Hump Day Hangouts on Christmas Eve. I'm not going to do Hump Day Hangouts on New Year's Eve, though. I can tell you that. But Christmas Eve, I do plan on doing it. Even if I'm by myself, I'll just share something. So everybody have a good weekend. We'll see you next week. Thanks, everyone.